Hi, everyone. My name is Manuel Saldana, and I am going to be presenting my assignment, applied assignment for SPE 223, Intersection of Society, Disability and Inclusion. And my topic is going to be students with disability and success in the educational system. And here is the table of contents and what we're going to be going through. First, we'll be seeing my pre work, why, I'm choosing the topic that I'm using, my topic, any prior knowledge that I might have. And then we'll go into course material and research. We'll also go through research and the findings that I found through my interview that I had, and also other um, research that I did. And then I'm going to talk about new learnings and evidence and connections to course materials and topics. Um, then I'm going to ask some questions and see what I'm going to be able to do to keep discovering the world of people with disabilities. Okay, and so my topic is students with disabilities and success in the public educational system. The reason I chose this topic is because I believe it. Children are already uh, vulnerable in our society. They depend on everything from adults. We're the ones that are building their worlds around them. We're the ones that decide what type of world they're living in, and they don't really have any type of um, self determination as a child because of ideas and learning and where they are. So, and then to put another layer, a child with disabilities would have even more barriers. So, I believe that once the world, once there is uh, a child with disabilities that's a refugee and has suffering from a type of disease, if that child is being has all their needs met, then we're going to be living in a wonderful world. And so the aspect of inclusion for my project is education and surrounding that. For the interview, and this looks like my sister actually, I chose to interview my sister Lorena Flores. Um, the reason I wanted to interview her is because we share a lot of the same values. We grew up um, together and understanding how we see the world. And I haven't really talked to her about her experiences as a teacher. She mentioned stories and types like that, but her background is a special education elementary teacher in the Buckeye Elementary School District. And I just wanted to get an idea of what her role, how she sees her role as a teacher and herself as an advocate for these students with disabilities. All right, and some of the course material that I learned about um, that I found that is connected to this subject was article that we read about more colleges enrolling students with intellectual disabilities, and this article focuses on Emily Scott, and she's a student with Down syndrome, and the college near her um, started doing interviews with her and her twin sister, and as she was growing up and uh, going through her normal life as uh, a student with Down syndrome, a student with disabilities, she got to a point where she was going to start going to college and wanted to go to college. And this article talks about how the process that's been in the last about 20 years, that like in 2004, there were only 25 colleges that were accepting students with disabilities. And in 2018, um, 270 um, colleges accepted students with disabilities. And a lot of those were college 2 year courses. But something that's been really helping um, this happen is federal funding and research that shows that students that have higher education after high school have better outcomes when they are living independently. And a way that they were able to do this is by receiving support from peers and mentors, university advisors, and they were also able to participate in internships. So it was a really cool article. I honestly didn't know that students with disabilities were going to college, and I was blown away. And I thought it was so cool that that is happening. Another course material is Universal Design for Learning at a Glance. Um, this is also a course material, and this talks about. Sorry, I had a little. I didn't see that that had a link listening. So, anyways, Universal Design for Learning at a Glance is what it says right there. Is that it's uh, design learning designed for everybody to be able to have it, and it works because um, it's something that's crucial because not only are able students and disabled students different in learning, but within those groups, there is also different ways of learning. And the way that this approach to curriculum minimizes barriers because it's very fluid. It's you go in knowing that there are going to be these barriers, and it kind of reminds me of Bruce Lee. You know, be like water, adapt, learn how to do, how to go past these barriers, and um, it realizes that students have different backgrounds, needs, interests, and strengths to learning, and a teacher sees that and uses that as part of their curriculum to learn this. And there's three main ways that the mind works, and it's recognition, strategy, and effectiveness. And recognition is what is this? What am I learning? Like recognizing that there is something there. Strategy is figuring out how to go about the learning or the challenges, and effective is like why the why of the whole thing. That's actually for me as a kid growing up and learning, and even now, if I don't understand the why, it's really hard for me to get to the recognition and strategy. And so this really focuses on, and that recognition, strategy, and effectiveness is kind of like knowledge, the recognition of knowing skills, the strategy and enthusiasm of why to do this. So yeah, UDL is something that I thought was really important to the curriculum and this subject. Cool. Some of this research. Now we're going to go into some of the material that I found on my own, and there was a study of supporting students with disability to improve academic and social, emotional, and self determination and life skills outcomes. Umbrella review of evidence-based practices. This was a cool um, article because it went and it looked at a bunch of different studies and saw what was working and what wasn't. And they saw that students with disabilities have poor social and emotional outcomes and struggle developing socially and emotionally, not just have difficulty with the with the scholastic part. And after a lot of students with disabilities leave, they have poor independent living outcomes because sometimes they don't have the resources that they need. They're lacking the equity of that. Um, and some of those things they found in the study is like direct instruction. But what helped, what this program found was, and it's kind of like seen throughout a lot of these different researchers, they all kind of hint and talk about how it's like resources and attention and time. But this article itself talked about peer meditative instruction and intervention, prompting, social skills training, video modeling, and visual supports that target different outcomes. So it was a really cool report, and I really like this other um, uh, article that I found. It's like, what can we learn from families of children and disabilities about inclusive family, school, and community engagement? And this is really cool um, article because it showed the overlapping. And here on the right side, I'm not sure if that's the right or the left, but when it comes out, but it shows a really cool graph that some of the same barriers that children with disabilities have are are in multiple aspects of life, and they like at school you'll have financial, lack of time, technology, language, communication, and that's also something that happens at home. And then at home, some people might get tired and have like lack of interest, um, and other types of things. But so some of the biggest, and then also it also talked about the types of family involvement, and there's like caregiving, right? You're taking care, making sure that a child has all the needs that they have, and then learning at home. It's like the homework, that continuous passing of the baton, communicating, being able to find out what the needs are, not of just the child, but of everybody that's in that group, volunteering time and resources, coming together and putting that, doing everything that's needed for a child, and building community and decision making and leadership. So some of the barriers that were found here were also stigmas, um, from educators and some even family members, infrastructure, economic, and low engagement with community. And some of the things that this study was able to find that helped was dedicated time, effort, and building relational trust. So, like, really spending time. Like, sometimes people are just trying to get over with their day, but this is talking about no, being proactive. Uh, Caregivers and parents coming together to make sure that a child has all the support and accommodations that they need to succeed. And it was a really cool article. I really like that. And here's the evidence for my interview. It's actually a bunch of screenshots I had set a few times with my sister to have an interview with her, but she is a mother of three kids. She also has horses, and she kind of lives in a little farm ranch in Buckeye, and plus she has a taxing um, work environment. So we ended up just talking on the phone real quick, and she said, "Hey, just send me the questions, and I'll go ahead and write you some answers." And that's pretty much what those are like screenshots from WhatsApp video. And I'm gonna try to speed this up because I don't have much time before I turn this in. Okay, and then this is evidence from my interview. I asked her what she decided, what made her decide to work with students with disabilities, and she said that she wanted to help fight the barriers that they have. She wanted to be an advocate for them when we were kids. She didn't like bullies, and she liked standing up for people. So she wanted to make sure that these students are receiving everything that they deserve. If you look at the picture, the screenshots, she actually talks about specific laws and policies. I also asked her if the process was different from applying to a teaching class with just able students. She said there was. She mentioned that there is additional coursework, instructional methods, and data collection, which I was really happy to hear because that means they're able to take information and build on it. And then I asked her what programs she liked and disliked. But she did say that behavior support programs are essential. That really helps them because if they're emotionally have a strong foundation, then they're able to build on that. And she said that one of the biggest challenges is staffing, that staffing shortages weaken programs. I asked her also what she would want parents um, with children with disabilities want to share, and she said modeling their behavior, respect, empathy, and inclusion. She told me a story of a kid that used the word stupid, and she's like, oh, like that kid probably learned it from another parent or something, and how um, that type of word is really stigmatizing and hurting. And she said, like, hey, let's model what we want to see in our children, and that's something big. And for children, I asked her what does she want other students in school to know, and she said everyone belongs and learns at their own pace. That they need patience, and the community also needs patience. They should have higher expectations and more opportunities, and be able to have children with special needs also participate. I asked her also how did other oh, I also asked her what did she think that children with disabilities in her class are excluded from, and she said PE, art, music, and it's all due to staffing. Um, Ooh, missed the question here, but I also asked her how she felt about parents as paid caregivers losing funding in Arizona, and she said that a lot of parents were stressed and worried that their children wouldn't get what they needed. I'm sorry, I'm going through this a little bit faster because I worked on this all day. Anyways, some of the stuff that I new learning that I had about inclusion was that a lot of companies talk the talk but don't walk the walk. That out of 90% of companies who talk about inclusion, only 4% practice them. So that was a really mind blowing thing to learn. If people aren't giving, if people aren't giving the chance to participate and be included, then we have the potential of losing um, higher living standards for everybody. Because who knows what a person with disabilities can is not being able to bring because they're being excluded from the majority of what of decision making and what's going on in our society. And for example, one of the examples at this video that I saw accessibility and inclusion for all was an exoskeleton that helps people work in a car factory and be able to do certain tasks that helps their body. But if you take that and you give it to a person that is disabled, then they can do the same job and also have different ideas that somebody else might not see. Um, and disability does not mean less than. It's something that this video really talked about. It can help everyone grow. And I really liked a quote that somebody said. So one mindset that everyone benefits from is the full human experience. So like you're missing out on what it is to be a human if people are being excluded. And that really stuck with me. I remember mentioning it in one of our assignments. So about equity, there was a video that I really liked about Dylan Alcott. Is he's a Paralympic athlete, and I think equity is like he mentioned being picked on by his brother. He's like, hey, he's being the same with me. And equity is not equality, right? It's different. But having that mindset in our minds of equity and treating people with the same respect and wanting the same outcomes. I think this video really helped me, and um, that achievement is not just for people that are able-bodied. I'm gonna keep going just to try to get. And then you learn EDL for access, UDL, Universal uh, Design Learning, I believe. It's just making products just making everything in our environment, whether it's technology, communication, everything, accessible for everybody, learning the principles and just having a list of what to do to be able to bring that to everybody. Um, sorry, I'm going to speed up because it's my time's almost over. Yeah, UDL was amazing. I have that list up. All right, and then continuing create what I want to know. I want to know about other groups that are out there that I did not know. Or I just didn't know that there's constant threat of people with disabilities losing um, their rights. You know, I know about it through cultural and like racism, but I never really thought about it through people with disabilities. And I think the attack on parents for as paid caregivers really opened my eyes to that, and which leads me into. And then, so I want to keep learning is what teachers want. The reason I also had this question is because I want to do infographics. I'm a graphic design major, and I'm also have a animation minor and education minor because I want to be able to do research, find what people want to communicate to the world, and build something that they can see and uh, and share that with everybody. So some of my questions I have for peers is, what specific group do you think is putting students with disabilities in danger? How can we create a group that combat this, and what can be some of the first steps? For me, it's I actually started seeing some of the groups that were fighting against losing the PPC, the pay parents as caregivers, and I've actually joined a bunch of groups, and now I want to start participating and volunteering. And here are my resources. everything that I talked about in the presentation. And I just want to say thank you so much for letting me uh, share what I've learned. And thank you. Bye.